Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Video Vinyl Spotlight. My name is Rich from richdgmono, and today we are going to be talking about a pair of records. They're records that I acquired in Japan recently by a pianist that is typically considered to be a little underrated. It is a gorgeous recording from Rudy Van Gelder's Hackensack studio, and the pair of records that I'd like to talk about today, and I'll try to figure out the best way to show these right now, are Herbie Nichols volumes 1 and 2. And these are the 10-inch pressings of these, the Japanese 10-inch reissues, as you can see from the obies on both of these here. There's volume 2, volume 1. I got really lucky getting these reissues in Japan this summer. Really good prices at Disc Union in Osaka. For some reason, these 10-inch reissues are plentiful in Japan, and they're not expensive. Over here, it's the complete opposite. They're very hard to get and they're very expensive, I've found. Where does my experience with Herbie Nichols begin? I would have heard the Herbie Nichols 12-inch for Blue Note. That was the Herbie Nichols trio. That was, I think, 15-19. I thought it was pretty good. It didn't really make me want to go out and buy it. Love the album art. I would have probably listened to the complete Herbie Nichols on Blue Note at some point on the internet. At some point, though, I got the CD box set from Princeton Record Exchange. Ripped that to my computer and started really getting to work trying to study Herbie Nichols. Now, Herbie Nichols, in my opinion, has to be the most enigmatic pianist in jazz. Aside from the fact that he didn't really record that much and he died young, his style of composition and playing is just very, very unique, dare I say strange. People often mention Thelonious Monk in the same sentence as Herbie Nichols, especially when they're talking about the historical significance of Herbie Nichols and or Monk. I think I get where people are coming from in terms of their use of dissonance and their tendency to write quirky melodic lines, but beyond that, I really don't see a ton of similarity. I mean, Monk is my favorite jazz artist ever. What does Monk have over Nichols? I'm a sucker for melody. I mean, I really am, and I love beautiful melodies. Monk could write a beautiful melody, but he wrote a lot of quirky melodies. I also always loved how Monk never completely abandoned the melody when he soloed. And I love that he had that influence on so many other artists like Coltrane and Rollins, for example. Nichols, yes, his compositions have melody, but they're complex. Nichols' style of composition, I feel like, is very much in the vein of bebop, in the sense that the melodies aren't catchy. I mean, I've listened to these albums dozens of times, and I would say 2, maybe 3 of them have gotten stuck in my head temporarily. I mean, like Monk's stuff is just like, it's just drilled in there, like his melodies are so catchy and so easy to pick up on and hum along with. Yeah, but Nichols' writing is just not like that. And insofar as his soloing is an improvisation on those melodies, his soloing, to me, often just, it kind of meanders, it really doesn't grab my attention, and I'm not afraid to say that. I think a lot of hardcore jazz fans would say, well, that's blasphemy, you know what I mean? Herbie Nichols is brilliant, he's a genius. I know Don Sickler, great arranger, producer, trumpeter, he loves Herbie Nichols, and I know Don is way above my level of understanding jazz. I'm sure a lot of jazz fans, they love to sit down and really give the soloist their undivided attention and follow them through their journey of trying to make their statement. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not afraid to say it, I'm not really that kind of jazz fan. I'm not that kind of jazz listener. I don't usually sit down and listen to music and just stare at the front of the room and just give it my undivided attention. I'm usually mulling around the house, you know, organizing things, cleaning, sorting things, working on something on my computer, driving. I'm an active listener, I guess you could say. And, you know, and it's just so funny that, like, I keep listening to these albums and they never really grab my attention, you know, they never really pull me in. Now, why would I even waste my time with music like this? Well, of course I don't think it's wasting my time. I mean, it's not that I hate the music, you know, I enjoy it. It's just that there's something about it that has always been evasive about it, that has made it a little bit hard for me to feel like I'm fully appreciating it and understanding it. But, I mean, let's start with the album covers. I mean, absolutely gorgeous album art. You know, and with the Obies, you know, to Obi or not to Obi, I've always really been into how pretty these are. The 10-inch Toshiba Blue Note Obies specifically. I always love those. As usual, you get the gorgeous laminated finish on these cute little 10-inch reissued Toshiba Blue Note jackets. The printing is beautiful, of course. Here's the volume 2. You know, Blue Note recently did a classic series 12-inch reissue of this on a single LP. It looks great to me. I've never heard it, but I'm sure that they did a wonderful job with that. So this music is very readily available through those classic series reissues of that. And the recordings themselves are just beautiful. They are some of the most gorgeous sounding recordings to ever be done at Rudy Van Gelder's Hackensack studio. In 1955, Rudy was still using his infamous spring reverb unit on recordings, but what happened was with the piano trios he recorded around that time, you know, he wasn't using it on the piano and he was using it a little bit on the drums. I can hear it a little bit on the drums, but it's almost not even there. So what you're really getting mostly is that dry sound of the Hackensack living room, which is just, you know, one of my favorite room sounds in all of recording music. Other great piano trio albums recorded at Hackensack around that time were Thelonious Monk, originally released as Thelonious Monk Plays on Prestige. This is PRLP 189. This would have eventually showed up on a couple different compilations as 12-inch LPs a couple years later, released by Prestige. But also, there was a great date by Randy Weston done around the same time at Hackensack. Another great piano trio record. The interesting thing about all these records is that Art Blakey is the drummer on all of these records. The sound on the records it's really to die for. It's a really nice, dry, snappy room sound. When Rudy has a trio in that room, he really gives the piano a lot of room to breathe. So as recordings, like, these are some of my favorite recordings of all time, going back to the Herbie Nichols dates specifically, like in addition to the Monk and the Weston. Are these my favorite albums? No. Are these recommended? Yes, they're recommended. You know, when I put these on, usually it's a mood setter. You know, I might be doing something else and it just might be kind of background music. Every now and then I like to really sit down and focus and listen to just how great these recordings are. I don't really feel like I get Herbie Nichols. It's kind of funny how over and over and over and over again I will play these records and it never really seems to get through my thick head. Maybe at some point I'll try to read a little more about him and maybe that will help me better understand what it is exactly he's doing. Maybe I could start with the liner notes on the back, which I notoriously never read. Well, I'd say that that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video Vinyl Spotlight.